Hey, coming up today, we have the guitarist from metal band Accept. Wolf Hoffmann is here. He's a founding member of the band. It was started in 1976, so they've been around for a while. They have a new album out right now called Too Mean to Die, and they're going to be touring the U.S. for the first time in 10 years. So we're going to talk about the upcoming tour. We'll talk about old tours, the connection with the band to Stranger Things, an influence they've had on some bigger bands like Metallica and Guns N' Roses, and much, much more. So stay right there. Wolf Hoffmann, thank you for doing this. Accept is touring the U.S. for the first time in 10 years, right?
Yeah, man, it's been forever. The last tour we did was in 2012 with Creator, I believe. And I can't believe that's really 10 years ago. Where has the time gone, man?
Where does it? Yeah, well, because it's interesting. Because don't you live in the U.S.? Don't you guys all live in Nashville?
Yeah, we do. We do, certainly. But, there was the last 2 years didn't really count. So, it's really only been 8 years. But still, that's a long time for a proper American tour. Yeah, I don't know why. It's just happened.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, you're hitting all the big places: New York, Texas, New Jersey, Vegas. What about the whiskey show though? That's the one I got I'm in Phoenix, so I gotta. If I wanted to go, I'd have to drive to Vegas or LA. But the Whiskey A Go Go is there going to be a lot of special guests at that one? Maybe.
Probably. Yeah. We'll have to see. I have to wait and see. Probably going to be a lot. Yeah.
Because I would assume you'd have a lot of connections to people that there's a lot of metal people that live in LA.
Well, not anymore because they all live in Nashville now. So I guess we got a bunch. We have to bring them with us when we get to go there because nobody will be in LA anymore.
Really? Isn't there some though? Like if you go to the Rainbow, like there's and stuff like that. I thought there was like people that go there periodically.
I don't know. I haven't been there myself in years, man. I don't know.
That was never really your guys' scene, anyways.
No, it wasn't. Certainly not mine. And no, I guess the LA scene has always been what it was, but we were never part of that, to be honest. Hey, come on, we're the German band, if you think about it. Even though now we're living in Nashville, but we're not exactly LA musicians.
No, but didn't you guys? Did you tour, or was it just a handful of shows you did with Motley Crue in the '80s?
We did a bunch of shows with Motley Crue. I think we did a complete tour with them. We toured with anybody back then, or a lot of main act. Back in those days, there was usually one main act and somewhat unknown opening act, and that has certainly shifted now to where it's multiple, I don't know, bigger acts doing these package tours. But back in those days, yeah, we toured with Ozzy, with Maiden, with Kiss. Our first American tour was with Kiss. So yeah, we toured with all the big names back then, or it seemed like it.
Yeah, I heard you say like when you went with Kiss that it was like you had to like really work to win over the Kiss fans because they were just there to see Kiss, and so you had to. I mean, how do you do that as an opening band? It's got to be one of the hardest things.
It was. You can just feel the resistance. I remember when you go on stage, you can tell that people don't really give a rat's ass. They're just there to see Kiss and they can't wait. But if you work hard and you put on a good show and you can win them over, and we did just about every night. I mean, it's never gonna be that they're all on your side, but you can definitely win their respect, and I think we did. Because an opening act is just a warm up for the main act. But like I said, if you work hard, you can win them, and you can do what you want to do.
Yeah, well, you don't have to worry about that as much now, but I would think that you still have to do that, like those festivals, because when people go to a festival, who knows what band they're there to see? There's so many bands, so you definitely have a chance to win over a lot of new fans there.
Yeah, we do, and we always, I always judge it by how is it at the end of the night? Is everybody singing along? Is all the arms in the air? And we have some songs that everybody knows, and especially in Europe on these festivals, we usually have great reaction, and especially on this run. I mean, it's been fantastic. We've played all summer long here in Europe, about 20 something shows, all the major festivals. It was fantastic. Yeah, so it's a situation because the people aren't there necessarily to see just you.
Right.
Definitely not. Of course not.
Yeah, that's tough. But is that the most lucrative gig that you can get as a band right these days? Is the festivals?
It depends on your slot, If you're playing sometime early on in the day, usually not. But if you're one of the main acts, then yeah, it can be good. Absolutely, it's great because The downside of playing these festivals is, of course, that they only happen on the weekends. Normally
Mm.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes on a Thursday. So you usually have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays off somewhere. So you got to wait for the next run for the next weekend, which so it doesn't really feel like a regular tour, and you end up having a lot of off time.
Yeah, it's just harder to tour these days because of the costs, right? I mean, you guys actually getting a bus for this one in US?
Yeah, we will
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
You
can't
have,
wait for that because we've done individual shows in the last 10 years. This isn't the first shows that we're doing, but those were usually like two or three here and there when we happen to be in the U.S. and when we happen to when it worked out timing wise. We did a few shows, but this is actually the first tour where we're actually getting a bus and we're traveling from city to city for 30 days, and I'm really looking forward to that. And another thing we have never brought to America is the fact we now have three guitar players. So it's basically a complete new lineup and a new sound, and it sounds killer. It's a lot of fun. We love it. The fans love it, and it makes a difference. It's great.
yeah, how does that work? So I understand the story is that Philip was subbing in the band and then you decided to keep him on and have three guitarists. So is your guitars the loudest since you're the original
Hell,
member, or how does that work?
no, it's not quite like that. We want to make sure, and we've got a great sound guy. We want to make sure that you actually hear all three guitar parts, and it's not just one guitar dominating everything. For sure not. And Phil and I are doing a lot of dueling leads. I share a lot of the
Mm.
lead stuff with Phil, and then Uwe is mostly doing rhythm stuff in the background, but he also comes forward for a few leads where we actually triple leads doing Fast as a Shark. So there's a lot of interesting parts for all of us, and it works out fantastic.
Do you ever do like the same exact parts, or you're always doing all three of you are always doing something different?
Not always something different. Sometimes we all riff on the same riff and it sounds incredibly powerful. But when appropriate, we found a lot of new parts for Phil to play that were originally overdubs on the albums that
Oh.
we could never quite reproduce because you only have, you have to make a choice. If there's more than two guitars on, you usually pick the most important or the most prominent stuff. But having the luxury of a third guitar player now, we can actually dedicate some of that stuff and come up with new sounds that are complementary, or like even different voicing sometimes on the same chord, make it more interesting. So we took our time during rehearsals to make it as interesting for everybody as possible, and it opens up everything quite a bit.
Yeah, so some of the songs sound more like the originals because there was three guitars on the recording.
Yeah. For instance, songs like Princess of the Dawn, there's a bunch of overdubs on that album that we never were able to play live, but now we can.
And that's a really popular song live, right? You said even though it's
Oh
really
yeah.
simple.
It's so super simple, but it's a lot of fun. The audience always gets into it. It's funny, man. Sometimes you have these really intricate, sometimes even hard to play songs, and you're really proud of them. You think, oh man, they're awesome guitar players, lift licks after lick after fun after fun. But then something as simple as Princess of the Dawn, and the audience, is like on your side right away as soon as that opening riff happens, and that shows you sometimes, simple is better, or like, but it's not just simple. It also has to be catchy and it has to be the right tempo. So simple alone doesn't do it either. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So what? And you've got the newest album, "Too Mean to Die." How many of the songs from that album will you be playing live?
We actually played about up to five during this last festival run, which is a lot,
Wow.
And now that we're good doing a long set of 90 to 120 minutes, we can probably even play five or maybe even six. I don't know, as many as we feel the audience wants us to play. It usually we judge the audience participation or the audience reaction during the tour and see, well, if that, people aren't so crazy about that one, we try something else. Because, at the end of the day, we play the show for the audience. And if they aren't getting into it as much as we were hoping, then that's fine. We're not really forcing it down anybody's throat, if you know what I mean. It's just, they're
Yeah.
they're there to enjoy it. If we have the feeling that people would much rather hear some of the older stuff, and then so be it.
Oh, you can change the set list within the show then?
Not during the night. Usually, we make up
Okay.
a set list, and that's what it is. I mean, we don't really do like the, hey, how about this one? Oh no, I have a better idea. We don't do it that way. We just sort of have a set list, and we'll stick to it. But we'll change it quite often from time to time, day to day.
Okay. So it's got maybe like 5 from the new album, and then how many total songs? Like 20?
At least, yeah, I would think so. That sounds about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is gonna be a lot of bang for your buck. And is it just you guys headlining tours, or going to be an opening band, or are you gonna use local bands for openers?
There's going to be well, for most of it, it's going to be God, the name escapes me right now. Oops, sorry, but there's going to be an opening act. You probably have it in front of
Okay, yeah,
you.
because I was looking, I didn't see. I don't think I saw it on unless I just didn't read it right. But yeah, I think it just says accept. So that's why I was wondering.
No, there's going to be an opening act. So
Okay.
That's kind of embarrassing right now. I should know that. But,
No, it happens.
You caught me off guard. Sorry.
Yeah. No, well, that's fine. We'll figure it out. I'll put it in the notes. I'm sure that it'll be on there somewhere. I probably just missed it too. So you got the opening act, and then you're also going to do the VIP experience. Now tell me about that, because it sounds like pretty cool. It's a meet and greet, but also I heard something about an exclusive gift. Can you say what that is yet, or?
We have a list of goodies that we're going to give away. I think there's going to be a laminate, a pass, like sweatbands, key ring. I'm not exactly sure. I don't have it in front of me, but we have a few items that we include into the VIP pass experience, the VIP experience, as it is called. So you basically get to meet the band. You get to get your stuff signed if you bring any. You get a band photo and a bunch of goodies, basically. Some merch
That
stuff.
sounds like a good deal.
Stuff. Yeah, it sounds like a cool experience, and people love it. I mean, we've done this not too often in the past, but whenever we have done it, it's really been well received, because people like the fact that they can take their time, and it's it's something that's exclusive, and they get into the venue first, and sometimes we even make it so that they can go to the merch stand without all the hassle, beforehand. So
it's the thing. Do you meet you before the show?
Yeah, usually it's before the show.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I would think I've heard from a lot of bands, like after the show, the last thing you want to do is do meet and greets. Like you just are like done at that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, we would, but I think the fans would also like to do it before the show, just in case they don't want to stay around
Right.
to the very last minute. A lot of people want to get home. I don't know. Seems
Yeah.
like easier to manage before the show, but hey,
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't care. I would
Okay.
also do it after the show. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm totally exhausted and I can't be talked to right now. It's not like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, a lot of metalheads too are probably older, so it's like probably someone might not
Exactly.
stay the whole show.
Everybody's stone old at this point.
Yeah, having kids.
No, we're not, man. Metal keeps you young. Don't you know that?
What's that?
Metal keeps you young. You should. Don't you know that?
It does. Yeah, you go to a show, like I find myself still, even at my old age, I'm singing along and I'm headbanging, and it's just it makes you, it energizes you, I think.
Exactly. All of a sudden we're all 16 again.
Yeah, it's like we want to feel young. It's fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So what now? Are you guys have any other like package tours? Like, is that something you would do later down the line with some of the other bands? Because I know you did a lot in the 80s. Like you toured with Judas Priest and Dio and all these kinds of things. Would you ever do those kinds of packages?
Yeah, I mean, we would. I got to tell you a secret. It's probably not a secret to you, but it's really not up to the band to decide on these things. We just want to play wherever it makes sense. So we're waiting for offers through booking agencies and management and all this kind of stuff, and they usually put this stuff together. So it's not like that we sit there and, who would we like to tour with? Judas Priest. Let's call up Judas Priest. Oh, yeah, great idea. Yeah, guys, we'll see you on tour. It's not like that at all. It gets negotiated beforehand. And what's the draw? And what's the day? What's the pay? What's the dates? And so there's a lot of finagling going on behind the scenes before it ever is publicly announced. And sometimes we just find out almost towards the end when everything is like, well, I'm more involved than the others, but still it's usually the musicians have the least say in all this kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know. I guess every band's different. A lot of the some of the metal acts are just doing it. A lot of the management themselves. So you actually have a manager to take care of all
Yeah, we
that.
do.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
of
Yeah,
course. Yeah.
that's a,
And
well.
because
It's just yeah,
I'm sort of the lone dinosaur, the last man standing from the original lineup. So I'm naturally more involved than the others, but we still
sure.
have a manager, of course. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, because you guys influence so many massive bands. I would think that it would be nice to take advantage of some of that, like the Guns N' Roses and the Metallicas that are fans of you guys. Like try to find a way to jump on, do some shows with those guys.
Yeah, we'd be totally open to it. I mean, it'd be fun. Fun as hell. We'd love to do it.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, like I said, the '80s. I mean, those shows like God, you had so many Motley Crue, Rat, Ozzy, Iron Maiden, Dokken. Is there any of those the tours that stand out to you? Is which ones were the most fun, or you felt were the best packages?
Oh God. Well, for the one tour that still sticks out is the tour we just mentioned, is Kiss, because it was the first American tour for us. Because we were just 20-something-year-old Germans that had always just toured in Germany and neighboring countries, maybe Holland, maybe England. But going to America was a huge deal back in those days,
Mm.
especially. And it seemed like very, very far away on the other side of the planet. And here we come and tour with Kiss, and everything is on a much bigger dimension than we've ever seen. Because everything was arenas, and we're talking tractor trailers and forklifts and pyro, and it was everything was, yeah, very impressive for
Did
us.
you learn a lot from watching Kiss? Did they? I mean, I know Gene Simmons. Like he's probably the guy that gives you a lot of advice and things.
Well, actually, tell you the truth, we hardly saw the guys in person. They sort of just limoed out the door right after the
Oh, okay.
show, and they were hardly around ever. They were doing their own thing, but we got to talk to them, of course, on a few occasions. But it was also good to watch them on stage, and no matter who we toured with, you always learn a little bit of something. How do they do things? What do they say to the audience? How are things backstage? I don't know. How's the catering? I mean, all kinds of stuff. You always, you get experience basically
Mm-hmm.
by opening up for all these bands, which was great.
Yeah. Well, in the later years, and it was like the 2010s, you did a tour with King's X. How was that?
Yeah,
Because I missed that one. I would have totally loved to see that show. That sounds amazing.
yeah, that was good fun because they're amazing musicians. It was great. You know, it brings you back to the age-old debate: is it good to have two bands that have the similar audience, where the audience overlap,
Mm-hmm.
or is it good to have different audiences, so where they can almost learn or like get new fan, where
Yeah.
their audience gets to know Accept and our audience gets to know King's X. So I'm still not quite sure what the best way is, but with King's X, it was definitely a slightly different audience on their part than it was for us, and I'm not sure how much they enjoyed each other, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Where like with Creator, it was probably more of an overlap in um, audience. So, sometimes, these tour packages, you don't really know what to go for. I personally think it's probably easier if it's somewhat similar, but not exactly the same.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. For me, I'm so eclectic with my music taste. I love Accept and I love King's X. So to me, it'd be
Right.
perfect. But I get what you're saying. Some fans are
I
more,
mean, a
more
lot of
like,
metal fans, they just
yeah.
like the metal stuff, and maybe
Right.
King's X fans wouldn't care so much about Accept. I don't know, man. You almost have to do a survey after the tour, how well it went. Personally, for us, it was great. We had a blast.
Yeah.
I got along great, and we loved each other. I mean, personally, it was great.
Yeah, I
Really
had
great.
Doug Pinnick on the show. That he's such a fascinating guy. Do you ever have like conversations with him? He's kind of a really interesting person to talk to.
Yeah, we chatted a little bit. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a cool guy. Hey, I was going to ask you about this too. I don't even know if you know about this, but I know because Except like the band is in pop culture. Like you guys are in like some of the video games like Grand Theft Auto and you're in Guitar Hero. But in the biggest thing right now in the metal, one of the biggest things is Stranger Things. There's a character in that show and he played a Metallica song and it just blew up for Metallica. But the character also wore an Accept pin on his vest. Did you know about that? And did that help the band at all? Or was there
I have no
anyone
idea
else
what you're even
talking about
talking
that?
about.
Really?
Dude, I'm so out of all that pop culture and public, No, man, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, well, that's fun. So no, yeah, no, clearly no one has talked to you about it. But yeah, Stranger Things is this big show, and this character Eddie Munson, he plays Metallica Master Puppets, and it just the whole younger generation discovered Metallica. But he also, like I said, he had Accept on his jacket. But so
Oh,
maybe he
cool.
must be
I
a
like
fan of
it.
your band too. So maybe they'll do a
Bravo.
song next season. I don't know, but
I bet
they,
some of the guys like Phil and Christopher in our band, they will probably know about this, you know. And
I'm sure that stuff helps
sometimes the two
because
of them are talking about stuff like that, and I just sit there like, huh? What, huh? Because I'm just not in the loop with all that
but that
cool
stuff
stuff.
does help you. Like if you're in the video game, I mean, you get a check for
Yeah.
that, right? Like, is that pretty lucrative, or does it bring you new fans at least? You think?
I think it does. Yeah, I think it brings us exposure, and any exposure is good. Yeah, by all means. And I thought it was great that we were in that movie, The Wrestler. That was
Yeah.
yeah, that was cool. So definitely, it's not as lucrative as you might think. It's not like you get a check for $1 million.
Right. Right.
It's definitely all adds up. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and it helps like the younger, like I said, the younger generation, because I think that's how a lot of these young kids are finding Metallica. So maybe they'll find Accept too that way.
To me, it's always a fascinating subject when I see in the audience there's a bunch of people, kids in that under 20 or just above in their 20s, and I wonder, gosh, I mean, they weren't even born when we started, and how do these people even know about Accept? And is it from their parents, or is it because they do research online and see what's current right now, and then they go back? Where did it all come from? What are their influences? It's an interesting thing to think about. How did they
Yeah,
find
well,
out?
I think that's the thing though. The only that's got to be at least one of the positives of all the streaming and everything is that you can discover bands
Yeah,
so easily now. Whereas, like, yeah, maybe you're not being played on the radio, but people can just Google heavy metal on Spotify or YouTube, and your band probably comes up, and they go, "Oh, let me check this out." Except I've never heard of this, and then they could
that's
discover
right.
it.
And yeah, well, you said it back in the 80s, or when we grew up, it was all about radio. If something was played on the radio, you were aware of it. If it wasn't, you basically didn't know. I mean, unless you went to a record store and bought some obscure stuff and by chance. But other than that, you know, before the internet, kids, there was a time before the internet.
Yeah.
God, I sound so old when I say this, but
No, because I remember when I was a kid, you'd have to make decisions. You'd look at an album cover and maybe you heard one song and you're like, well, this looks cool. I don't know. I guess I'll try it. And sometimes it worked out and sometimes it didn't. That was just the way it went.
Yeah, of course, you bought albums based on the cover.
Yeah, or like you'd heard one song on the radio, or maybe you saw one video on MTV, but you definitely
Yeah,
usually had not heard every song on the album. You kind of had to take a
no,
chance.
but nowadays you can just check out whatever Spotify or whatever your thing is, and it's all right there. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. Now you have two besides Accept, you had two solo albums. I heard there was a third one. Is that coming out soon or ever?
I don't know about soon, but I'm definitely working on material, collecting stuff. Making a solo album like I did with these classical ideas or these classical themes. That's an incredible amount of work, and unfortunately, also my collaborator Melo Mafali, a good dear friend, who was responsible for all the orchestration, and he and I worked on these songs together over the years. He passed away from COVID not too long ago. So that's kind of a super
Sorry to hear
bummer.
that.
Yeah, it was terrible, terrible
Jeez.
blow. And so that, everything I have to look for, and I'm currently searching for a new partner in these things, because I love classical music and I love playing this kind of stuff, but I'm, of course, not an arranger and I can't write orchestration parts and all these kind of things. So, yeah.
Okay, so that's more on the back burner.
Yeah, well, hopefully I'm about to meet with somebody, and hopefully that's gonna turn out to be good, and then we'll see.
Okay.
Go on. The show must go on.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you also have done some. I want to ask you about this because you did some cool guest spots on other people's albums and tributes and things. But working with Sebastian Bach, tell me about that, because I feel like everyone's always got a good Sebastian Bach story. You played on his solo album and then also on a tribute album with him.
Gosh, I guess you've done your Wikipedia search, because here's the thing that pisses me off about this. Can I be honest?
Yeah, yeah.
It was fun with Sebastian, and we had a blast. I played on his, wrote a song with him. We played on it, but man, that lasted like a day and a half, if that long, And yet, it is mentioned on Wikipedia as if it was a major part in my life, I mean, when I make an Accept album, it takes me 6 months or a year, and we tour on it, and it gets mentioned in one sentence. And there's this little thing with Sebastian gets also sentenced, mentioned at about the same length. And I'm thinking, like, wait a minute, this was such a blip. I mean, it was just such a minor thing, yet it appears to be, oh yeah, collaboration. But really, it was just a bit of fun for 1 day and a half. But it was good. I mean, I think it was great. I like the guy. He's a little crazy, of course, and everybody heard these stories about Sebastian, But man, he was cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, because like I said earlier, like you have all these bands that are fans of you. Like, who's the biggest fan that you've met of that's like a famous band? Would you say like anybody that maybe even is going to such a diehard they're going to listen to this interview?
I'm not going to drop. I'm not a name dropper. Sorry. I mean, there's a few people we met over time where you think like, oh, really? What? You were an Accept fan, or you grew up listening to Accept? And some of them that blew my mind were, wow, they're big major dudes, so to say. But yeah, I'm not going to mention any. It's stupid. I'm not going to do it. Sorry.
No. I mean, like I said, I think I know who most of them are. So, but that's got to be a big compliment. I mean, would you take that more as a compliment, or are you looking more at like record sales and things like that?
No, I mean, when I have the feeling, or when people tell me these things, it makes me very happy, very proud. I got to be honest. Of course, it's nice to sell millions of albums, but we've never had that luck that we've been like sort of the act that were in that was in the mainstream and sold, that had this massive radio hit and sold like a gazillion albums. But that's cool. I mean, we've made our mark in the history of metal or rock or whatever, and that's a lot. I mean, it's more than we could have ever hoped for, and it's something that makes me at least as happy as having sold like a gazillion albums. I mean, we're doing okay. So, but still. Yeah.
No, you're doing, and like I said, that respect from your peers, I think that's so huge. That to me, that can mean more, because there's a lot of bands that sell a lot of albums that suck, in my opinion. And to have that respect, I think is more important. So,
yeah, I mean, to me, it is. Everybody might think different about this. Some people are laughing on the way to the bank, but hey, I'm happy where I am.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, you're on tour. The new album's out now, Too Mean to Die. I always end each episode promoting a charity. Is there a charity or a cause that's near and dear to your heart?
Oh, wow. Now you put me on the spot. God, sorry, nothing comes to mind.
Okay, because I know they have like Save Our Stages and things like. I don't know if there's something like that that's related to music or something else. Or if you think of something, just send it to me. I'll put it in the notes along with your website. So if people have a few extra bucks after they buy a ticket to your show and the new album, they can throw a few bucks that way.
I'll ask around. I'll ask the other guys. I'm sure we'll come up with something.
Okay, cool. Well, look forward to hopefully being able to see you on tour at one of these shows. The whiskey one sounds like that would be a lot of fun. Maybe make a road trip.
Well, if you want to find out if there's anything in your area, just go to acceptworldwide.com and check out the tour dates.
Are you going to be adding any dates, or is this pretty much the whole U.S. tour is out?
I mean, this is what we have so far. There might be stuff added. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. We'll see. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Wolf. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Awesome, Chuck. Thank you so much.
All right.
Great.
See you later. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
Thank you again so much to Wolf for coming on the show. Make sure to support these guests by following them on social media, sharing their stuff, going to shows, buying merch, etc. All that great stuff that we can do so that we can keep music going. I love live music, and I try to see as many shows as I can. Thank you for listening or watching this interview. If you enjoyed this one, check out some of my other interviews like Biff Byford of Saxon, Lips from Anvil, Dee Snider of Twisted Sister, tons more great heavy metal icons. And again, make sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen or watch if you haven't already, so that way you can keep up with future episodes. Have a great day and shoot for the moon.